Now, in what could possibly lead to an escalation with the United States, and I hope not, Iran had just acknowledged that it had broken the limit set on its stockpile of uranium. Now, this is low enriched uranium, and that, of course, is a major, major distinction as we go further on into the story. But first, according to The Hill, the state-run IRNA news agency quoted Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif making a uranium announcement. He said this, quote, IRNA reported that Zarif, answering a reporter's question whether Iran had broken the limit, he simply said, yes. He also said, quote, if Europeans do what they have to do, our measures are reversible. And that's what do you mean by that? Well, for one, they've broken the limit in how much lowly enriched uranium that they can actually keep in the country. And but they also said, look, we can get rid of it. If the Europeans want to work with us, we can reverse that position. And we can also reverse the position that we're thinking about. And we're thinking about enriching uranium even more so that it could be weapons grade. But we'll get to that as well. Now, Zarif did not say how much low enriched uranium they had on hand. So now, the important thing about this is that, and you're going to see this all over the media, you probably already have, right? This breaks the 2015 Iran nuclear deal. Now, the United States was part of that deal. We're not, thanks to President Baby Hands. And so the whole point of that deal was for an international coalition, the United States, China, Russia, and Europe, to get together and say, look, here's what we're going to do. If you promise not to develop nuclear capability, nuclear weapons capability, then we will lift some sanctions. Now, of course, that came with a lot of, checks and balances to make sure that, we could do very invasive inspections into Iran's nuclear facilities to make sure that they were committing to that deal. And, of course, they had agreed. I think it was one of the best deals that could come out of the Obama administration, probably one of the best things that could come out of the Obama administration when it came to foreign policy. Now, President Trump, once he came into office, he ripped it up. He said, no, we're not going to do the Iran deal. We're going to instead do nothing. Now, the Europeans strongly opposed that. They said, okay, look, we're going to stay in the deal if Iran decides that they want to stay in the deal. And so far they had done that, but now it comes to today where they said we have violated this deal. Now, what's important for the context is the United States had already violated the deal. Now, under terms of the nuclear deal, Iran had agreed to have less than 300 kilograms, or about 661 pounds, of uranium enriched to a maximum of 3.67%. Now, that, and it's very important context here, because that is not weapons-grade uranium. And the reason that they need that uranium, that they have been enriching that, they say, is so that we can use it in our, domestic energy program, our nuclear energy program. That stipulation, by the way, that they can't stockpile too much of that uranium was agreed to because Iran was able to ship that out of their country. So they were able to refine it and then ship it out of their country and then also use the remainder, what they actually have on stock, to be able to run their nuclear energy program. Now, cut to President Baby Hands. He threatens to punish any nation that takes uranium out of Iran. So now they're in a situation where they have this limit because of the 2015 agreement that the United States is not part of, but Europe is. And the United States says, well, we're not going to allow you to stockpile it, but we're also not going to allow you to sell it or give it to any other country. You have to keep it in your country. Well, what are they supposed to do? They're kind of stuck because now they don't have any other option than to stockpile it. And, of course, at some point, they're going to end up stockpiling so much, which they already have, which they admitted to on Monday, that they have violated that. They have more now than they're supposed to. Great. Now, again, another thing to point out is this is very lowly enriched. You cannot make a weapon out of that. And so that really points to, I think, how the nuclear deal was a success. And the reason that I say that is Beforehand, they did have highly enriched uranium. According to experts, previously Iran had enriched as high as 20%, which is pretty, not quite weapons grade yet, but was really shortly away, a short technical step away from reaching weapons grade levels. Now, they had also held about 10,000 kilograms of the higher enriched uranium. That's over 22,000 pounds. That's a lot, but because of the deal, they decided to give that away so that they could lift, the United States and European countries could lift the crippling sanctions that we put on them. They agreed to give that away and say we're only going to stockpile so much lowly enriched uranium. And now, of course, we have the current situation thanks to that deal. But again, because of the deal, they did not have their nearly highly weapons grade uranium. And now they're saying, well, now that the United States is not part of the deal, why should we honor this? Why should we not enrich more uranium, especially when you have John Bolton out there, who's part of the administration, who was famous for saying, hey, you know what we should do? We should bomb Iran. Now, Europe is desperately trying to save this deal. And so you've got diplomats out there from a lot of these major countries that are saying, look, no, just stay in the deal, stay in the deal. I know the United States kind of shafted you, but what do you expect when they elect a man-baby? But we are trying to honor that deal. But now since we have Iran saying we violated the terms of that deal, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen since they violated the agreement. Now, Zarif was quoted also saying that the country remained on track to raise its enrichment if Europe did not take additional steps towards saving the accord. So they're saying, look, Europe, work with us. Yes, we're thinking of raising our enrichment, so you got to give us a better offer. Now, this is actually very advantageous to Iran. So congratulations, Donald Trump. If you wanted to have a better deal for the United States, which I don't think is possible, you've basically pissed it away, and you have given Iran sort of the upper hand in a very strange way. You have empowered the mullahs. So now they can go to Europe and say, you want us in this deal, you might want to negotiate some fairer terms for us. Because as I said before, the Iran deal in 2015 was actually incredibly strong, and it was the best deal that we could get. They've made it worse. They've made it worse. Now, he said, quote, the next step is about the 3.67 limitation, which we will implement too. Now, tell me, if you wanted a war with Iran, like if your name is John Bolton, right? What would you do? Well, you put them into an impossible position. Iran, of course, they don't want war with the United States. That's why they give up all their nuclear weapons grade material in the first place. The hope was that an accord with the U.S. and Europe would be enough to stop that. Instead, once again, President Man-Baby gets into office, rips the deal up thanks to a steady diet of propaganda, and now he thinks, well, I have to be tough and punish Iran. Now, thankfully, he hasn't gone so far as to outright attack Iran, despite John Bolton and Mike Pompeo basically screaming into his ear, you got to attack Iran, you got to attack Iran. You got to bomb them, bomb Iran. Thankfully, he's been like, no, that'd be really stupid. Yes, it would be. It would, and one of the biggest, I think reasons that he has not attacked Iran is that he's come out before and said, well, attacking Iraq was really stupid. And everybody knows it's stupid. Even I know it's stupid, and I'm like super stupid. So I'm not going to do that really stupid thing. But then, of course, you have Bolton, the neocons, and all that. And corporate media, which is really bad about this. Everybody except for, I think, Tucker Carlson, which is really strange. They're out there saying, oh, look, no, it's not just Tucker Carlson on the right. There are other people on the right that are firmly against a war with Iran. And so I think they deserve credit as well. You've got these two different forces, the neoconservatives versus the right-wingers who are not in favor of attacking Iran. And so far, Donald Trump has taken the non-interventionist, non-bombing approach. But who knows how long that's going to last? Because look, the problem is that we've got Donald Trump, who's easily suggestible. In some certain circumstances, you got to convince him, like, oh, like, you'll look stronger if you attack Iran, right? I mean, he's surrounded by the same people that engineered the war in Iraq, which is disastrous, right? Now, John Bolton, Mike Pompeo, if you ask me, they should be in prison for war crimes, along with the disaster that was George W. Bush. If Donald Trump ends up listening to them and invading Iran, he will be on par with them. And so far, he's not. He has resisted, but for how long? And that's the danger here because, again, I can't help but think that the stage is being set for a disastrous war with Iran so that we can get, of course, their oil. And that the only hope of avoiding said disastrous war is Donald Trump. Talk about yikes. And this situation is not helping. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent, progressive media.